to my web mic?
You sound fine to me. I mean, John, does he sound like a web mic?
I don't know, but this is how the show's gonna open, and I'm so happy
Okay.
this is how we're
It
starting.
Discord says snowball, but okay.
No, you sound fine to me. So,
All right.
okay, so Ro, you're ready. John, I'm assuming you're ready.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Well then, welcome to Nazjatar Roundtable, episode 328. This is a show, if you've never heard it before, that does not deal with news and give out information. My name is Ben Bumhofer, and with me, as always, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hello, Ben. My name is John. It's Friday night here in Azeroth, and I'm contractually obligated to be here tonight. Joining us
Yes, you are.
is Ro. He's been on the show before. You know him. Unless this is your first time, or second time. In which case, here's Ro.
He is not contractually obligated to be here. I just like to point that out.
Says who? You don't know. Maybe I contracted myself. We're 50-50 on this show. I can write a contract if I want.
That is true.
And,
Although I am your shoot, I forget the person who does the stuff that makes things official. Never mind. Anyways, hi Ro.
Hi. Fortunately, this isn't raid night where I'd be contractually obligated to talk for 2 hours about how to fight a final raid boss.
I'm your notary. I remembered the word.
I'll make a note of that.
Nailed it. Hey,
Yeah.
guys, thanks for having me back on.
No, really happy to have you here. In fact, one of the biggest reasons why I like having you on is because you are very committed to this whole idea of playing WoW and enjoying it and everything. But no, seriously though, you're always fun to talk to, and I really appreciate that.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I honestly would have to say that over the past 8 months, I've played WoW very casually up until the launch of patch 8.2. I was logging into WoW primarily for raiding, maybe completing some world quests and that kind of stuff. But 8.2, I don't know how it's working for other people, but 8.2 has me hooked, and I'm playing more WoW now since 8.2 launched than I have, I'd say, in several months all squished together.
That's pretty cool. I mean, so okay, let me tell you what I've been doing in WoW really quick.
Okay.
Hey, Ben.
So I think, yeah.
What have you been doing in WoW really quick?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. I think I might have found a bug.
Ooh.
So,
Oh, is it, what's its pet battle statistics?
well, it's actually not pet battles. So on the Timeless Isle, I've been trying to get the Hulan mount because, topical.
You're doing Timeless Isle?
No, so what happened was the last time that Pandaria was up for the time walking, I went ahead and went out there and I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't been here in a while. Whatever. I'm going to see if Hulan's up. And Hulan was up. So I ran my Demon Hunter up there and everything, killed Hulan, no mount, of course, and everything. So I'm like, I'm not leveling my Demon Hunter right now. Whatever. I'll just park her right here. It's cool. So then logged back in. Hulan's flying around. I'm like, okay, cool. Killed Hulan again. Logged out. A couple days later, came back in. Oh, Hulan's up. Cool. And then Hulan gets close. And every single time that I've been in range before with my ranged attack on my Demon Hunter, it's like, too far away, too far away, too far away. I'm like, what's going on? I've been able to do this. And so I run around chasing Hulan around, trying to get to like the high points and get as close as I can. Nothing. Doesn't work. So I'm like, okay. So I logged off really quick, logged on my Hunter, ran there as fast as possible. Because again, I'm not doing anything with her right now either. And then, Hunters have range. I don't know if you know this or not, but 2 out of 3 specs are ranged classes. And so, kill Hulan. I'm like, great. That's awesome. So then on my lunch break today, I log in really quick. Hulan's like flying at me. I'm like, oh, it's Hulan. Too far away, too far away. So I think there's some sort of bug there.
I have a theory.
Okay.
If I may, Ro, for a moment, take the floor.
Absolutely.
I imagine that this is what's going on at the Blizzard Control Center. They're sitting there, and they're, it looks like NASA, I imagine, with a lot of people with cups and feeling very important.
You actually know it looks like
I
NASA.
actually do know it looks like NASA. That's not incorrect. It does look like NASA. For anybody who doesn't know, it looks like NASA. And
It
you
totally
know,
looks
It
like
does.
over like this world map that shows connectivities. It's so cool. Anyways,
so I imagine someone there in a sweater vest with a cup of coffee, real tired, just sipping at it. What's the status report on the world of Warcraft? Because that joke's still relevant. And
yeah.
somebody says, well, you know, it's going well, sir, but we've got a weird anomaly. We have somebody logged in at the Timeless Isle. And he puts the mug down and he just goes, Jesus. We build them Mechagon. We build them Nazjatar. We try to one-up the Timeless Isle in every way, shape, or form possible and imaginable. Reggie, is it
Yes?
Mechagon great?
Of course it is.
Wouldn't you say
You built
that
it, sir.
this patch is basically a mini expansion?
I wouldn't go that far.
It's basically
There's
a
another-
mini expansion, damn it. This is the most content we've added to the game ever. And we have some rube logged in, hanging out on the Timeless Isle. Get him out of there.
It's a really good flying mount, sir.
I don't care. Get him out of there. But he can't know we're meddling. He can't know.
I'm checking, sir, and he hasn't even unlocked flying yet.
My God. Okay, here's what we do. His ranged attack. He's got the one, right?
Well, he's on his hunter now.
Okay, well, that we can't do anything about that. But when he gets on the Demon Hunter, disable the ranged attack. Don't let it work. Not on the Timeless
Yeah.
Isle.
Yes, sir.
That's it. That's how
My
it happened.
theory was just that your demon hunter became nearsighted.
Well,
He doesn't have eyeballs, Ro.
she doesn't. I mean, she's really no-sighted.
I mean, I know that was the
That
joke.
was
I
the joke.
ruined it. I stepped on it right after I got to do my whole thing. I'm sorry. I feel bad.
And I saw that he stepped on it, so I'm like, we're going to take a hard turn
We're
into making
just
this not
gonna
funny.
all be real bad at Ro. This is what we do. Please come join our show where we will make sure that your joke gets shot down in a blaze of glory. Thanks for being here, Ro.
Yeah,
It's always a pleasure.
but yeah, I might have found a bug on the Timeless Isle. I just wanted to throw that out
Awesome.
there.
I think they
Perfect
want you
timing.
not on the Timeless Isle. Leave the Timeless Isle and see what happens.
Okay, I can do that very easily. But I have been doing other stuff in WoW. I mean, I'm actually revered with the Unshackled, which is the rep that's in Nazjatar.
Yep.
My little buddy who I've been running around with, Nira, she's pretty cool. She's like level 10 or 12 or something like that. I don't know. But been doing that stuff and then going and doing other stuff in Mechagon and being like, oh yeah, Mechagon.
What if I went to the Timeless Isle instead?
Kinda, but no. I mean, and there's something I really want to get to later on too. But until we get there, I know, Ro, you were incredibly excited for me to get to Mechagon. In fact, Nevermore was as well.
Mhm.
And I don't know, because if you've been listening to the show for a very long time, you know, like say 327 episodes worth, you'll remember I wasn't too big on the Timeless Isle when it came out. You know,
I
it
do
never
remember that.
it never really kind of clicked with me and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, Mechagon, here's your chance. Timeless Isle 2.0, which is what everybody's calling it. Here's your chance to really get me in and motivated and think it's awesome and everything. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, okay. But I mean, to my credit, I'm at least in honored. I'm almost to, well, about maybe halfway to revered or so at this point. So I've been doing stuff there. I've been engaged in it and doing it. It's just, for me on that side of things, it's more of a laundry list at this point, which I don't get the appeal. And I'm really curious, as someone who just totally loves it, like, what is it about it that really gets you, like, your blood pumping?
That I feel open as far as like where I can go and what I want to do. There are some. I mean, yes, there are a few daily quests, but where I go and what I do and how I make the most of my time on Mechagon feels like it's more in my control. Whereas with an area like Nazjatar, where it's basically your follower quests and your world quests, and that's it, or it feels like that's it because the spawn time on rares doesn't feel as frequent. That just feels like a more it's funny, I was about to say mechanical experience, even though it's not Mechagon. I don't know.
Still
It
works,
just
though.
it feels like a more freeform experience. It's like I can do the areas of Mechagon that I like. I can go after the bosses I like. It feels like I can target my goals easier in Mechagon than I can in Nazjatar. Mechagon is better ease of travel, especially after you get flying. Whereas even flying in Nazjatar, if you want to go do certain quests or world quests and such like that, having flying in Nazjatar doesn't mean that you can necessarily get anywhere and everywhere safely. Because once you land, there are certain areas where you can land and you're not going to be able to mount up again until you deal with the half a dozen things that are swarming around you. I don't know. It's funny because to me, Nazjatar feels like the chore and the laundry list. It's like, okay, let's get my follower levels up. Let's do this world quest and that world quest. The only part about Nazjatar that I like are the treasure chests world quests.
Those are the best.
They are. With Mechagon, and it's funny that you mentioned it's like a laundry list. I would actually agree with that. Mechagon does feel like a laundry list to me, but it doesn't feel like a boring laundry list. It feels like a laundry list where it feels like multiple laundry lists, and I don't feel stuck to necessarily one. There's like a whole bunch of different things I could do there. It's like, okay, well, I've been working on this thing and I'm tired of working on this. How about I work on this aspect of it instead? In fact, right before we started recording the show, I went after one of the rares that drops a paint recipe because you need 8 colors of paint to get the final color of paint, which Ben, you're not too happy about.
It's the only color I want.
Can I ask a really relevant question, but this may be a dumb question?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
What's a laundry list?
Basically, for some reason, a laundry list is think like a grocery list, but for some reason
I
they're called
get
laundry
it,
lists.
but what is a laundry list in this case? Like, I just, as you guys said it multiple times, and I sat here thinking about it, I was like, what the hell is a laundry list?
Well, I mean, it'd be like a like a honey-do list and stuff. It's just I think it's kind of just what people call it.
1, separate clothes. 2, put clothes in the washing machine.
Well, apparently, according to dictionary.com, it is a long or exhaustive list of people or things.
That sounds like Mechagon.
Why do we call it a laundry list?
Well, according to Merriam-Webster, let's see. Yes, the bartender. Sorry, trying to find the actual information on it. It's loading a little slow, though. But
the internet, everyone.
So the 19th century saw more than 2,000 U.S. patents for washing machines filed, and with the rise of laundry machines came also the rise of commercial laundry services, which made it possible for people to benefit from the technology without making the financial investment. When you took your laundry to a commercial laundry establishment, though, you had to make a record of what you'd sent. This ensured both that you got that you got back what you sent in, then you paid for what got washed. There you go. The more you know.
Hey, look, I just want to say you all are coming away from this a little more enlightened about the words you use in your day-to-day.
I appreciate it.
It might not have been World of Warcraft relevant, but you're smarter for this podcast now. You're welcome.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, and maybe this is where I don't know, I don't have the same connect that you do. And, well, first of all, I'm going to be the first person to say that I know tons of people who love Mechagon, and that's their thing. Tons of people who do not like Nazjatar, it's not their thing, and vice versa on every single aspect of this.
And I wouldn't say I hate Nazjatar, it's just, if I were to choose one or the other, I'm always going to choose Mechagon.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I personally liked about Nazjatar more is because with all the world quests there and all the different, companion quests and stuff like that, to me, there's a lot to do there of okay, there's the runes to unlock, and then there's, hey, go gather these things and stuff like that. There's more of that than if you go to Mechagon. There's a world quest, and it's either get 6 chests, which, I mean, if you're not on a flying mount, kind of sucks, or do stuff around Mechagon, which means you need to do all the events and stuff that are there in the first place. And Nazjatar, the thing that sucks about that is that the rep you're getting is not super great, whereas I'm guessing on Mechagon, you get super great rep for doing just a couple things. But everything on Mechagon, for the most part, involves, I've got to go kill something. And then it's just grinding of, I'm killing this in order to do this. I'm killing this in order to do this. The one of the big things there are spare parts, which you get from killing everything. And to me, that's where I'm just kind of, it doesn't jive with me as well. I've said this many times. I'm a healer. It's not that I can't kill things. It does take a little bit longer, but at the same time, I just don't find that sort of content engaging. Now, that being said, Nazjatar also has a whole lot of, hey, kill this and kill these things and all that stuff, like especially those bounty quests. They're all about just killing like 10 or 15 things. So like each side has that, but where you're all, I'm tired of working on this, I'm going to go work on this thing instead and everything like that. To me, it's still all the same thing. So
for now, what the way that kind of comes across to me is kind of a perceptions reality thing. So here's a question I want to toss at you. Let's say you went to Mechagon, and instead of the way it's structured right now, you had 5 world quests pop up. One is collect 250 spare parts. Another one is go build a Rust Bowl armory, which, spawn in random locations and you contribute stuff in order to build the armory. Another world quest is kill 3 rares. Another world quest is go to this spawning area where the pirates are and kill 10 pirates. And let's say the final quest is go to this spot of the island, click on 10 different things, and complete the quest. What I've just said to you are roughly the same kind of things that you do in Nazjatar. But if they appeared as world quests on your map, would you feel more compelled to do that content?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Because
to me, it feels like we're both doing kind of the same things. We're both interacting with the game. We're engaging with the game in similar ways. But because it's kind of weird, because to you, with them formatted as world quests, you're more apt to go do them. For me, when I do the world quests in Nazjatar, once I'm done doing the world quests in Nazjatar, even though, yes, there still is probably a lot more you could do in Nazjatar, flying around and looking for things and doing things, once I complete the world quest in Nazjatar, I don't feel any need to want to do anything else in Nazjatar. I feel like, well, I guess I'm done. Whereas with Mechagon, it's almost like because that world quest formula isn't there, it's like it doesn't feel like the content is gone. It's a strange perception thing to me. You know what I'm saying?
And I get that. And it's funny because that structure isn't in Mechagon. Once I'm done with the couple daily quests there or whatever, I'm done. I don't care.
Right.
Because anytime there's a rare up, I'm not going to make it. I don't have flying. Anytime that there's some other weird sort of world event thing going on and stuff, I've got no clue. I have no idea what it is because the game isn't telling me what it is. If there's an event happening that, I didn't read about on MMO Champion or Wowhead or anything like that, I don't know. Like, there's a vault bot walking around. No clue what that does. No clue how to do anything with it, how to interact at all with it. There's the beast robot thing or whatever in Bondos. I know I've got to craft something in order to do that, but I need those spare parts for other stuff. So why would I fight that rare ever unless someone else did it? And if I know that someone's going to do it, great. Otherwise, I'm going to miss that rare. Why am I trying this?
So when it comes to your end game content, you like a more direct, and this isn't a criticism, I'm just kind of making a statement here. When it comes to your end game content, to me, you're saying that you like a more directed endgame experience rather than one where you just basically explore, run into things, stumble things as you find them, and oh, if something new that you didn't realize was going to happen pops up, then hey, that's a cool thing. You're looking for a bit more guidance in what you do with endgame stuff.
Kind of, because
Okay.
I love being able to explore, but if I'm exploring trying to find a rare or something and there's tons of other mobs attacking me, I'm not going to spend the time trying to do that. On top of that, if I do run into some sort of event, I want the game to tell me what it is and what's happening and what I need to do. That's very important. In fact, earlier today, Nevermore was actually like hunting for a rare in Nazjatar. It's one that drops a really cool mount. It's a seahorse mount, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Except you don't kill it; it's unkillable, and you need to take a selfie with it in order to get the mount. But
I've not
how
heard
would you
of this.
ever know this? That's the thing. If the game doesn't tell you how to do something like that, you need to go to an outside source in order to find this. And it's something that I have a really big problem with. Like, you see someone on a mount, oh, it's really cool. Oh, how did you get that? And John and I talked about this a little bit before the show, and he's like, how would you find that out? And granted, I didn't ask Nevermore before the show happened because I totally spaced me as soon as we got home and I started eating. But I mean, if you find that out by going through the mount journal, it's like, okay, now it's requiring you to go through the entire mount journal to do it, versus, reading it on another website or something like that. Again, it's going outside of the game to find this stuff out.
How do you feel about the secrets and stuff that appear once in a while, like the hive mind and that one? And there have been a couple other like mount or pet quests that involve like these really long, drawn out things where you're kind of going all over the place and doing things that you probably wouldn't have stumbled upon yourself unless a whole community of secret hunters had figured it out.
Like, I think those are really cool. I'm not gonna lie. I see them as something entirely different at this point, though.
Okay.
It's not. I'm just in the zone finding something that's really cool that anybody can stumble upon and do. This is a specific. There's a group of people who their entire point is to figure these things out because they want to crack the code and the case and everything like that. I see that as something entirely different. And then, if that's online and they have all the steps all figured out and everything, yeah, I'll go do it. That's how I got that unicorn, and I haven't done any of the other ones.
So interestingly enough, I think this content is kind of neat because it does seem to be dividing people. Like Ben said, if you go back and you listen to the release of the Timeless Isle, you'll hear me rave about how wonderful the Timeless Isle is, and you'll hear Ben talk about how he doesn't really like it, and I'll call him crazy for it. And then he tells me why he isn't crazy, and I disagree with him. And it's, you can skip that episode now. You're welcome. But
We don't even know which one it is.
I
so
think it's pretty
don't
clear to see that, it's definitely got that appeal where to Ro, that's going to be something that, leans more to his play style. Sounds like Nazjatar probably leans a little bit more towards yours, Ben. It actually gives me some hope for this patch because I have not gotten to Mechagon yet. And Mechagon sounds like it's what I want from World of Warcraft in general. So I'm actually really hopeful because I think that's what this game needs more of. This game needs less get in here, here's what you're going to go and do, talk to the person, accept the quest, go do the grind, come back, do the grind, log in tomorrow and do it all over again. I hate it. I'm getting sick of it. Whether that's me growing out of it or me being mad at this expansion or me whatever, I'm sick of it, and that's why I have had such a hard time getting into Nazjatar. It's right now, and if it felt that way 2 episodes ago, if you heard it and you were like, wow, John's really harsh on this expansion, and you hear me talking about it now and you're going, no, he's still being really harsh on this patch and everything, it's because I want to play the game, and every time I log into the game, I am not having fun. And if I didn't care, if I didn't want to play WoW right now, it'd be no big deal. I wouldn't log in. I'd go do something else and I'd be happier for it. But the difference is that I want to play WoW. I've got that urge and that compulsion to play and get on this character that I've invested a ton of time and effort into, and experience that world. And Nazjatar seems incredible. It's got a lot of lore behind it. There is a somewhat ham-fisted yet still interesting story around it.
The story is really freaking cool, though. That's the thing that I'm most excited about. And there's nothing given to you for it other than the intro.
It's this thing where right now that whole thing should be speaking to me, and it's not. And I think it's not from a mechanical standpoint. And when I hear Ro talk about what Mechagon is, that is what I wish World of Warcraft was more of, because that's the strength of an MMO. It's not to come in and complete your checklist. That's going to be great for some people. Some people don't want to be a part of the world. Some people want that game that's that comfort food gaming. I get this way about Diablo. You know, I don't want Diablo to throw a curveball to me necessarily every time I log in, although I would love new content for Diablo 3. But still, it's a game that I can play and I can watch TV and I can do whatever else I want, and I don't have to be engaged in anything else. And for some people, that's what WoW is, and they find that reassuring, and somebody giving them the step-by-step here's how you enjoy our game. You do this, and now you do this, and that allows you to do this.
Look, before you continue on, you're belittling that kind of experience. At least that's what it's sounding like. And
I think
want to
both
say,
play styles have merit to them.
Well, that's literally what I'm saying, is that it has merit and it has its audience. If it sounds like I'm belittling it, it's because it's not for me. So it's going to come across that I don't like it because I don't like it. Because every time I feel like the game is saying, here's where you need to go, here's what you need to do, I go, well, this is the world. Let me explore the world and do what I want to do. Don't tell me where to go. And it sounds like Mechagon is a little more freeform and a little more free-flowing and a little more of that joy of discovery. But to take it back to what Ben said, I do think there is a problem right now with that method where they've come to understand that we are going to use tools like Wowhead or MMO Champion or these websites to find out what all these things are. And instead of the joy of discovery, it becomes, okay, I'm going to look up a guide. And this guide is going to tell me where to go and what to do. And it becomes that list. And that's where it gets hard, because if you are the player type like me that wants that free flowing world and just like, oh, let's just see what's going to pop up today, that's crazy. If I get to a thing that I can't kill and the secret is I need to take a selfie with it and the game does nothing to communicate that to me, then what happens is I go, I don't know what to do with this, and I alt tab and I go and I look around and I go, what am I doing? Okay, here's the name of what's the name of the creature? Okay. And I type it in and I look and I go, oh, I got to take a selfie with it. Okay. And I go back and, okay, now where's my selfie? And by now it's gone. It's not there anymore.
It's only there for 2 minutes.
And now, instead of a fun, interesting thing for me to experience in the world, now it has become an item in a checkbox that I need to mark off, because now as a player, I'm going through the, oh my gosh, I missed my opportunity. Now I have to feel like I gotta camp it, and I gotta figure out when it's gonna be up, and now it's all of a sudden, oh, I've got pulled into this whole thing. And that's the opposite of how that content should work.
And to be fair, hold on really quick. To be fair, I would say that a lot of the stuff in Mechagon is the checklist, because you've got the achievements of kill these rares, and you have the achievement of get all of these different paints and everything like that. So it's still set up as the checklist without telling you that the checklist is there.
I do need to bring out something important, and I'm hoping, John, that what I say doesn't discourage you too much. In that my experience playing Mechagon since the first day I played it has over time changed. I'd say that very first week, pretty much up until the time that I got revered in Mechagon, was that whole exploration that, entirely don't go to Wowhead, don't go offline to check other stuff. Do what you can do, just run into stuff, just go out there and do things. That was my first week and a half of Mechagon. After I hit revered, In fact, pretty much once I got flying, my goals changed, and my goals became there is this mount that you can get in Mechagon that requires you to do literally all the things in Mechagon.
Yeah.
And it's a really good mount, or at least to me, it's a mount that I want to have to my collection. And there
Is
haven't
that
been
the
too
head
many
with
mounts in.
legs?
It's the wheel mount, the silver
Oh,
wheel
okay.
mount.
The one that looks like Grievous's little like wheelie bike.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And there haven't been too many mounts in the game that I have said, I really want this mount. And I swear if they put a wheel mount on the store at any time, I will be furious. But I really want this wheel mount. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm having fun in this. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go after all these checklist items and do it. So there have been some things I'm like, okay, I've done this, this, and this. I have all this marked off my checklist, but there's these 2 or 3 things that I haven't run into. Do I just want to happen into them? Or do I want to take the risk of never seeing them because I don't know what to do? Or do I want to do a little research and see, oh, I have to be looking out for this rare. Oh, I have to be doing this kind of activity. And I have decided, yeah, I went to Wowhead and I looked some of this stuff and I figured out, okay, I need to do this boss and this thing. Now, does that make it a little bit less enjoyable because I didn't discover it myself? Perhaps, but at this point in my enjoyment and engagement with the content, I feel okay with doing that research and going over that things because I have a specific goal I'm directed toward. So I don't think right now when I'm playing Mechagon that I'm having as much of that exploration and wonder as I did in that first week and a half, but I don't think the content's necessarily designed to be that way for weeks and months on end. I think it's designed in such a way that eventually you get to a point where like, okay, if you want to continue here, you're probably going to need a little bit of help and a little bit of research to see what you want to do.
Right. You've had your fun, you've had your experience, you've gotten your taste, and now you've decided to go further in. That actually, it's kind of funny that you mentioned the super secret mounts like Hive Mind and stuff like that, because I feel like to me that's why what you just described is still okay. I don't have to be on the cutting edge discovery of things like Hive Mind. I think that that's something super cool for certain people who do that. And maybe one day I'd like to do it. It certainly wouldn't be the end of the world to try it. But I had such a good time going through and doing I can't think of the name, the unicorn one, the shadowy unicorn one. I had so much fun doing that, and that was following a guide. But that was because I made a choice that, you know what, this seems like cool content, this seems interesting, I'm going to print up the guide and I'm going to dedicate some time to actually going through and getting this mount and setting my own little personal goal for me and saying I'm going to do that. And I feel like if you've gone in and you've explored and you've had your fun, you know, I'm sure there's going to be some people that go, okay, well, I've seen the content, I'm good, I'll go do other stuff. I got flying, I'll go pwn noobs, whatever you do. Well, but I think I'm almost done, Ben. 1 second.
Okay. Sorry.
I think that for the rest of the people like you that say, "Oh, there's an achievement. If I get everything, I get this cool mount." I think at that point you're making a decision to alter your perspective on that content. And I think that's okay. And I think that's why I might still be interested. And that's why it doesn't discourage me. Is because if I get to that point, because that wheel mount's all right. I don't think I'd use it, but it's all right. I'm making the decision to say, you know what? This is a checklist I want to complete.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because after all this discussion and my whole Nazjatar's great, you know, perspective on here, which, you know, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. But I'm at the point where, you know, the World Quests have repeated so many times that there's no variety. And it's grindy as hell. I will give you that. And yeah, there are days where I'm like, I got to get it done so I can get revered, so I can get flying. And that's the only reason that I'm there. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. Mechagon, I'm going there and doing the content that's available for the day because, again, I've got to get revered to get flying. When I get flying on Mechagon, I am going to be so much happier and more into the idea of exploring everywhere because Again, I don't know if it's because I'm a healer, which that's my apparent battle cry at this point, but being able to fly around and actually not have to engage in like 27 mobs when all I want to do is just try to find one thing or look around or explore or anything like that, it really is so much more appealing to me, you know? Because I'm a healer and stuff does die slower, I have to understand that every single time that I run into something, it's a time investment. And when I'm running around with less time than I used to be able to when, I was playing WoW and stuff like that, back when I was in, just out of college and just in WoW and everything, I didn't have a life. I've got a little bit more of one now where I'm kind of really busy doing stuff all the time. So if I'm running around and something jumps me, I'm like, okay, I have to stop, I have to fight this. And because of how dense some of these mobs are, another one will pull. And then maybe another one will pull. And it's at the point where it's like, okay, I've got one of them pinned, I'm fighting two of them, healing myself to stay alive, just so I can get a chest that's 2 feet away from me. And it's just one of those things. And I could switch to a DPS class, but guess what? That's not how I want to play the game. I want to be a healer. This is who I am. Because once I'm in the DPS class, I'm running around, I can't heal myself and I die a lot more because I'm used to being able to just live through everything. So it's kind of a lose-lose until I get flying, which at that point, most of the battle's kind of done, and then I'm just playing catch-up, doing checklist stuff. So...
Or until you play a rogue, and then you just run through all the mobs and go, attack me! And then once you get where you want to go, you just go, vanish. And now I'll fight the mob that I wanted to fight.
I mean, there is that. There's definitely that. Unless there's all those mobs that can see through invisibility, and then, you're just kind of boned.
Well, yeah, but then you fight, and then you just turn on Blade Fury and you just kill everything because you're a murder machine. Anyway, best class.
But until I make that my main, I'm going to have the issue where I'm never geared enough to actually do well. So, again, SOL on that.
I was toying with the thought in my head as we're talking about all this. It's like, okay, Nazjatar is structured this way. Mechagon is structured this way. Would it have worked if both zones had both levels of content, where like both zones had a number of world quests, but both zones were also designed in such a way where if you didn't care about world quests, you just go out there, you do things, and you're still making progress toward X, Y, and Z. And I don't think it necessarily worked that way. I think it's just kind of that they're both really, even though the content is still more or less the same kind of thing, I just think that the way they're structured appeals toward one player more than another. And I also think that the shelf life, like how long this content is good for, is probably a little bit longer than Timeless Isle, like it, at least as far as Mechagon goes, but not much longer. I can't, while I'm enjoying the heck out of Mechagon and Nazjatar's okay to me, all that said, I still don't see myself doing this content for 3 to 4 months. Right. Maybe 2.
I just realized that I have a kind of a good example of a lot of effort being put forth for nothing. Well, I mean, some people call it nothing. That I did in Mechagon. So, you know Scrappy, the little mechanical dog that goes around and everything and stuff?
Yes.
So, at certain points, he's just kind of out of juice, just lying around on the ground. And you can, re-energize him with a power cell that you get from doing all the stuff that's going on. Or, if you have an empty power cell and then, you spend the stuff to fill it up and everything like that. So it's like, okay, cool. You do that and yay, he's alive again and going around. I found out that, it's part of an achievement. I'm like, okay, cool. I need mecha treats to feed him and you get the achievement. So I'm like, this is great. So I have to kill the Scrap King in order to get the mecha treat pattern, in order to use the materials that I've been getting from killing other things in order to craft them. So finally I kill the Scrap King, right? I'm like, yeah, the blueprint dropped. This is great. I walk over to XT because that is who that is. I don't care what anybody else says. And I feed him the blueprint. He's like, great, this is what you need. I'm like, awesome. I don't have all those things. So then I farm up those things. Then I make some mecha trees. I've got 5 mecha trees. I'm like, this is cool. So now I'm going to walk over. I'm going to find Scrappy, whatever he's called. And I'm going to feed him a mecha treat. Yeah, this is great. I give him one. Achievement pops up. That's it. Nothing. Nothing else. I don't get him as a pet. I don't get a title. I don't get anything. So it's like all this work for
An achievement.
an achievement.
That was a missed opportunity. I do think that they should have at least awarded you with the ability to like summon him as a companion. I agree with you. That one felt a little empty.
I realized I came across a lot more mad at the end. That's not my intention, but I don't know, it's like I put a lot of effort into something that I thought, hey, I'm a pet guy. Maybe this will lead to a pet, but nope.
And the funny thing is, there are a ton of pets to collect in both of these areas, but at the same time, it's not necessarily all that clear how you obtain all these pets. In fact, Ben, I remember you being quite surprised just the other night in Furt Raid that there were pets you could find in the new raid.
Yeah, and when we were done raiding, I went back through the raid and captured all of them. Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, no one it's something you wouldn't expect, right? Because there haven't been pets just wandering around that you could battle in a raid before.
Just Emerald Nightmare, but that was only at the very end.
Right. And I will also mention, mild spoiler for Operation Mechagon, that mythic dungeon, there are pets to fight there too.
And see, I get where that's really cool, but at the same time, our group's gonna just stop and let people pet battle?
I see that as one of those things where you do that after the final boss is down. At least in Mechagon.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's what I did in Raid and everything too.
Yeah.
But
I
don't
think
know.
it's interesting because you got to ask, you know, it's something that they haven't done often, or in some of these cases they've ever done before. And one of the things that we've kind of hit a couple times now is how do they tell us that as players? And you know, you can say, okay, well, maybe if you get within a certain distance of the seahorse, it pops up and says, take a selfie, you know, it gives you a big hint or something to that effect.
Which, by the way, it's Fabious, Fabious. I actually found it on warcraftmounts.com. It's there, linked it in chat. So I'm not smoking crack, and neither is Neverending.
Okay.
Well, at least in regards to this.
So they can give you a tooltip. It's something that they've never, you know, done before. So here's a little hint, something to put you on the path. Or they can say, nope, we're going to rely on outside websites to solve our problems for us. You're going to have to just keep going to them. I don't think that's a great solution because I feel, and this is what Ben and I were talking about earlier, it sounds like a design goal to try to get into Blizzard's head was, let's fill this area with a bunch of fun stuff. So much fun stuff that people aren't worrying about going to sites and figuring out what you have to do, at least at the beginning. And just have something to do all the time. And it doesn't matter. And, oh, here's a cool thing. And, oh, you missed that cool thing? Well, that's fine because there's another cool thing going on right here. And in a lot of ways, that's how I wish World of Warcraft worked. But like I was saying earlier, as soon as you put something in there that players don't understand, where they have to go to the outside and look it up or feel like they had a missed opportunity because it wasn't made clear to them, then that does shift and that does become something that you camp, or that becomes I gotta do this, or it goes back to that grind that we always talk about. And it sounds like this was designed to try to not be a grind, but sometimes they can force that by making you feel like, oh, I gotta go in and I gotta check this off a list. And so I think another thing is to just get players used to it, just to say, you know what, let's just put pets in the raid. And yeah, we haven't done it before, and we're not going to make a big deal out of it, and we're not going to tell people about it. It's just going to be something that we do from now on, and they'll get used to it going forward. And I think that's a viable option sometimes. But I do think that it's something that Blizzard is going to have to think about pretty frequently, is we've been playing this game for 15 years. Anytime you do anything differently, you're going up against 15 years of what you've taught us. And in many cases, the lesson that Blizzard has tried to teach us was, oh, we're teaching you to do this. No, just kidding. You do it the other way. It's the other way. It's complete opposite now, because they swing that pendulum back and forth. So when we complain about, oh, I don't think they're doing a good job explaining it to us, sometimes that's just because the method with which they've shown us has swung so violently back and forth for 15 years.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just the existence of Mechagon and the way it's structured is pretty much that. It's the pendulum swinging the other way. Now, mind you, it's swinging the other way at the same time that there's a zone that's still staying the course. Yeah. But yeah, you have two very different things going on.
Yeah, but man, getting 83 rep for doing a long world quest sucks. Like, I get that there's more structured things to do, but it's...
And here's the thing about Nazjatar, Ben. Mm-hmm. There are ways to get really good chunks of rep that have nothing to do with world quests and have everything to do with stuff that you would not even realize.
So what you're saying is they Mechagoned it.
There are some Mechagon things in Nazjatar, but when I say they hide this stuff in Nazjatar, they really hide it. Like, would it ever occur to you, and I'm going to spoil a little bit of Nazjatar, not storyline, just a gameplay element here. Would it ever occur to you that there's a way that you could get a whole big chunk of reputation with the Unshackled by equipping a benthic cloak that lets you see what exotic Murloc trade equipment is up for sale, and then do a whole bunch of trading of different trash items between 4 Murlocs for about 15 to 20 minutes to get these epic level items that don't do anything, but 2,000, about 1,000, 1,500 gold later and 20 minutes of trading, and you trade to this one Murloc and you get this book and you open the book and all of a sudden all 3 of your followers gain 200 combat experience and you get almost 1,000 Unshackled reputation.
That's nice. But guess what? A benthic cloak of that trait needs to drop as well.
Right.
So am I just killing everything, hoping that one drops? Am I waiting for a world quest where one drops?
You can buy one off the vendor with pearls.
I mean, but there's no guarantee that it's going to have that trade on it. So
right.
Again, it's one of those things, and I'm sure this goes without saying, but I'm tired of another freaking currency too, because those mana pearls are not just flowing from the, well, I mean, they're technically flowing from the ocean, but they're not exactly flowing from the ocean either.
We could have a whole episode dedicated toward currencies in MMOs, man.
Oh, I know. And that'd be a really negative episode. Yeah. Not worth my $1. I'll just say that.
I know. I just got to, in Final Fantasy 14. Sorry, everybody. I've been playing a different MMO.
Oh my god!
I just got to an alternate rep or an alternate currency tied to rep, and I had such a visceral hate reaction. It's literally the first time this game has ever done this to me. Like, it really didn't warrant it. It's like the equivalent of if you had a bad dream about somebody or someone was a dick to you, and then you run into them in real life and they say something and you just go, "You shut up." And you're like, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense for me to be hostile to this person. I'm just interacting with them for the first time. They didn't do any of this. That's kind of what my reaction was, because it's been so spoiled by new currencies, new reps, that as soon as they were like, hey, let me tell you about Beastmen rep and currency, I was like, you shut your mouth, game. I don't want to hear about your Beastmen rep. You can shove it up your Beastmen ass. I don't want to hear it.
I know exactly where you are in that game, because I've played up. The funny thing about
you played it too? How dare you?
I played up until about that point, and that was about the point that I stopped.
Because of another rep or another currency. I can't.
Was it because of that? But it's funny that you bring that up, because that's about as much of Final Fantasy 14 as I've played.
You know what I will say though, one of the, I guess you can call it currencies because they put in that tab, that's nice, is those reroll items, because there's nothing greater than defeating a boss in a raid and not getting a piece of gear, and then rolling again and getting a piece of gear. Conversely, there's nothing worse feeling than not getting a piece of gear and using a reroll and not getting a piece of gear, which happened 1 out of 2 times on Wednesday. Because John, we went raiding. Not the Mortal Kombat character.
Is literally what I was thinking.
I know. That's why I had to throw you in there. So remember how I'm like, hey, Battle for Dazzlar is horrible and no one should ever do that because it's really boring except for one fight?
Yes. I vaguely remember that.
I might be eating my words in like 5 months or something, but dude, these first 2 fights in whatever it's called, I don't even know what raid I'm in, other than it's underwater and it's really cool.
It's the Eternal Palace.
The Eternal Palace, that's what I said. The Eternal Palace. Hey, John, have you gone to the Eternal Palace? I've been to the Eternal Palace.
No.
It's a raid called the Eternal Palace.
I have not been to the Eternal Palace. I have no
It
plans
has one of the best
to...
raid entrances in the game.
I have no plans to go to the Eternal Palace.
I know you probably won't, but I gotta say, well, first of all, Fert, I love you. Everybody knows that. But I thought that we were gonna have a really hard time with the first boss because, John, it is 99% personal responsibility.
Friends and family rating.
Woo! Hey, do you remember Thaddeus from? Gosh, I don't remember what it's called now.
You're talking about
Naxxramas.
Naxxramas, thank you.
the plus and minus guy.
Yep, it's like that, except it's poison or frozen.
Does it have a fun platform where you have to jump and that kills 90% of the raid because they can't make the jump?
Thank God, no.
That's my favorite. Oh my
Me too.
gosh, that was such
especially when I had slow fall everybody on my platform because no one could make it.
I want to send
the best
a
part.
fun, like, you're the best troll ever letter to whoever was like, now get this. Once they beat the 2 guys, they have to jump onto this platform. And someone was like, oh, that's easy. Now we're going to put a little lip on it. And if they don't hit it just right, it's done.
Yeah, but I gotta say, we were very successful on that first boss. It took us like what 4 or 5 attempts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Once we figured out, hey, when you get like 10 stacks, that's a bad thing, and we figured out how to kind of take care of it and stuff. Like, I'm impressed as heck that Fert beat that on the first night.
Me
after
too.
only a few pulls. I was super happy about that. And then John, the second fight was surprisingly, amazingly awesome. It was so cool. And look, as someone who absolutely loves Vashir, you'll appreciate the fact that this fight was underwater in 3 dimensions.
No, I won't. That's not what I like about Vashir.
I know, but just go with me on this.
Oh, okay.
It was
I didn't
really
realize you were
cool.
using my feelings as a transition. Okay, go on, Ben. Tell me more about this Vashir fight.
Well, basically, you're fighting a giant eel that like randomly shoots electricity and stuff, but you get like this little membrane thing that lets you breathe. But during the entire fight, you cannot be healed unless you have like bioluminescence on you, which you get from killing a fish.
Seems.
I know it sounds weird.
Seems normal. This is the world we live in. Remember how the theme of Spider-Man Far From Home is people will believe anything these days? That's the world of Warcraft now. Like I haven't raided in a while, so Ben every now and then will tell me about the fights that are in the raid, and he's just like, "This is a raid. There's time mechanics, and you eat cake, and you got to eat a bunch of cake." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, sure." Back in my day, get all old man about it, we fought the boss with weapons, and we tried to have more health than the boss did when the fight ended. But sure, I guess you eat cake or kill a fish to cover yourself with bioluminescence. Why not? This is the world we live in. People will believe anything.
And you have to dodge giant jellyfish.
Sure.
Yeah, but John, here's the thing. If you have bioluminescence on you and you're over like a trench, a giant krakeny thing will come up and just eat you, and it's instant
Of course.
death.
That's how they work.
Yep.
That's how trenches work. And bioluminescence.
But if you don't have the bioluminescence on you, you can be over that trench as long as you want.
This is what it's like to be an adventurer. We all know.
But in all semi-seriousness, I guess, that fight was really cool. And we beat it as well on the first night.
2 bosses on the very first night of raiding is pretty good for Furt.
It's okay, because we're going to get all except for Ashara and then start Ashara. And then after an hour and 58 minutes of explanation of how Ashara works,
We'll get
then we're
one
going to
pull.
do our first pull and die.
See, that's the
Next raid
thing.
night.
Maybe I'll come when you guys get to Ashara. I'll skip. It'll be fine that I can't be there Wednesday night, because that'll be the night where Ro explains the fight. But I can make it Sunday when we actually try it. So.
No, but see, that's when the recap happens.
Oh no.
The recap's only half as long, but
Yeah.
still.
So then we'll have the one attempt, and then we'll have the analysis and recap again to go over different mechanics. Yeah, but I mean, so far I gotta say, I'm actually like really digging this raid, like way more than I have for the rest of this expansion. So I hope it stays. Like I said, in 5 months, if I'm eating my words of like, oh god, this is the worst raid ever, I'm so bored with it or whatever, it might happen. But so far, it's been fun, and I was trying to figure out, has it been fun because we were actually successful right away, or is it because there's just enough mechanics so that it's a little bit challenging, but also fun to do at the same time?
I think first boss encounters in a raid, like first impressions from a raid overall based on like the first boss you encounter, it actually can be a very big deal. If you think about Old Deer and the first boss being the one where you have the platform and the bloods and stuff, which was a tanking and kiting nightmare, and then all the crashing and stuff going on. You have Battle for Dazarlor, which had the paladin and the ads, and you can only hit one or hit the other, and those just didn't feel fun to me, while the Frost and Poison fight felt fun.
Yeah. You're leaving like frost and poison puddles everywhere.
I think it's an interesting dynamic, and one that I'm sure I have an unpopular opinion on, because
Everything should be patchwork.
No, not everything should be patchwork. I don't agree with that, but I do think that Ro, you've been very vocal about the Ashara fight and how over-the-top ridiculous it is. And I feel like
stupid on normal.
I
feel
like
normal is what Mythic should be.
I
got halfway through the description of that fight, and I'm like, I can't watch this video anymore.
So I feel like this is the world we've earned for ourselves, because we made the decision that the way WoW rating works is fights are really challenging, and eventually you overcome it, and that's what rating is. And rating isn't about a challenge, but you're likely to clear it, and we just want you to keep clearing it over and over and over again. We decided to put the challenge on, no, you're going to bang your head against the wall, and eventually you'll get through it. And there is a world where they go the direction of Diablo with like challenge rifts, with ways to make the personal challenge harder and allow you to control it, but be successful every night. Imagine if you were clearing... imagine if you were clearing Nazjatar every week. Mythic Plus is actually a really good example. There's a world where they make that decision, and the fights never get to the mass hysteria that we're seeing now. But we've made the choice. It's the choice we have to live with. They have to make fights crazier and crazier and crazier. The early fights, not so much. They can do whatever they want, really, with them. You don't have to have your first encounter be more complicated than the Lich King, because, well, if they beat the Lich King, our first encounter has to clearly be harder than that. You can ease people into it, but when you look at the last couple of encounters in a raid, there is this feeling of, like, they better bring it. It has to be bigger and badder and rougher and more mechanics than everything that came before. And I don't know how sustainable that is. I mean, it's been sustainable. People are still raiding. People are still doing it. But there is this level of craziness where every time we get to this final boss aspect and people go, have you seen this? This is madness. I just go, well, it's what we apparently all decided we wanted.
So, okay, so you said something about, it's going to be harder than Lich King, whatever. Just kind of thinking about it, that first boss that we fought has close to the same amount of mechanics that the Lich King fight actually does. If I'm
I'd
really
say that's accurate.
digging it down, yeah.
Although it only has really one phase, where the Lich King kind of had multiple phases. Like that first raid encounter is like one phase of the Lich King fight.
I would say two. I would say 2 because
with no
you do have the
transition.
crossing back and forth of how things change and stuff.
Oh, the
like
inversion and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 2. But I mean, if you really like dig down, you're right. Stuff's gotten so complex at this point. It's like, okay, well, what else can we throw at them? And I'm wondering if it's only because of World First Raiders or Mythic Raiders why this stuff kind of even happens. I mean, I can see it where, okay, we need to make it challenging and stuff like that. And yeah, but throwing mechanics on top of mechanics on top of mechanics on top of mechanics, is that challenging, just confusing, or is that the only way that they know how to make something challenging at this point, is to just have yet another thing that you need to juggle in order to get it to work?
And I have no problem with them doing mechanics on top of mechanics on top of mechanics.
I do.
Well, let me finish. I have no
No,
problem with
you don't need to
having
finish. I do.
I have no problem with them doing that at Mythic rating.
Okay.
I even am okay with that kind of thing happening on Heroic. My biggest beef with the complexity of mechanics and just the addition of mechanics on top of mechanics is completely just at normal mode level rating. At no point should any encounter in normal difficulty be mechanically more complex than pretty much any previous raid encounter has been at Mythic.
Or should it be the same level mechanic wise as a heroic encounter, or the same heroic encounter?
If the last boss, or if the last 2 bosses of normal are as difficult as the first 1 or 2 of heroic, I'm okay with that.
No, I'm saying the same encounter shouldn't have the same mechanics. So if it's the last boss of normal and then the last boss of heroic should have another mechanic. They shouldn't be the same, because that's going to be the same level of intensity.
Right. But
on top of,
it already is kind
damage.
of that way. I mean, Heroic and Mythic do have additional mechanics thrown in, but even still, even when you don't look at the extra mechanics that they throw into Heroic and Mythic right now, normal, in my opinion, has way too many mechanics per your average encounter.
For well, I haven't looked at all the fights for Palace of Eternity.
Eternal Palace.
That was close.
I love that John got that.
I haven't looked at all the fights for that. From what I can tell, or from what I can say for the first 2 fights, mechanically, I think they were kind of about the right level. But in previous raids, yeah, a little too much. Last thing before we close, because I just want to make note of it really quick. Even though I've seen the cutscene on how it happens, I still think that is absolutely horrible that as a loyal Sylvanas follower, I am in a raid hanging out with Jaina and Gen Greymane. Especially since the last raid, we were fighting Jaina. She was the end raid boss, and we're standing next to her just hanging out. Have an issue with that.
I admit that it is a little weird for it to happen so soon. If it was 2 content patches apart, it'd still be something to be like, eh. But we literally, after Jaina's the last boss, you're working together with her on the next one. It's very awkward.
It's like I told Ben, it's weird. It's a little weird if you sided with Bane and what's his name?
Thrall.
Yeah. It's not who I meant,
Saurfang.
though. Saurfang. It's a little weird if you sided with Saurfang. It's super weird if you've been siding with Sylvanas. Like, there it's even, like, that's beyond me. Like, okay, we're gonna hang out with them now. What? It's fine.
Yeah, like, I can't even get a, just a gimme of, would you like to tell Nathanos? And then you tell Nathanos, and he's like, oh, just do everything like you normally would anyway, which is what happens every other time you report to Nathanos.
Yeah, that's been the key of this story expansion. It's like, you got choices. Yeah. Well, the choice is, okay, well, keep going along with the story.
Yeah,
Maintain
basically.
appearance.
Yeah. Make sure to kill a bunch of undead when you're doing this, is essentially what they're saying each time. It's like, what? So, anyways, but Ro, thank you very much for joining us on this wonderful, wonderful, positive, information-filled episode of Azeroth Roundtable. I really appreciate you joining us this week.
Oh, again, it's always a pleasure to be on the show, and I'm happy to talk about Warcraft with you guys. And I'm having a lot of fun playing WoW. Again, it's the most fun I've had playing in some time for multiple reasons, including raiding.
That's good. That's very good. Until next time we have you on, though, where can people find you?
Multiple places. You can find me on Twitter at Rowow, RHOWOW, and I do a number of other podcasts such as Realm Maintenance, Hearth Casual, and +5 to Hit, and Rolling Restart.
There you go. John?
Just all those shows.
I was like super high pitched on that. John?
John?
John, where can people find you?
Hey, man, thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
Hey, if people want to find me, you can follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. That's where I will tell you what I'm up to. Other places you can find me. I do a video game podcast called Core.
Core!
It's part of the Frog Pants Network. You can find out more about that at heroesforyou.com. I also have been known to play the Dungeons and Dragons on the internet. It's a popular thing these days, and I am also a person doing it. And if you want to follow that campaign, therewillbedungeons.com is where you would need to go to do that. We're having a blast, and I think we're on the verge of going into a dungeon, keeping up appearances. There will be dungeons, and therewillbedungeons.com.
It's nice that there's a dragon in every episode. I'm excited for you to actually have a dungeon in one.
Yeah, there's a lot of dragons in our campaign. Yeah. There's also now a mind flayer.
Ooh.
I'm really worried about it.
I would too, but you know what? You might not have to worry all that much.
Really, Ben? I might not have to worry about that? A mind
Depending
flayer?
on how low you roll.
You know how low I roll. It's not great.
Like I said, as soon as your mind has been flayed, you won't worry. Everything's fine.
I'm worried about mind flayers. It's going to be a theme. So, Ben, where can people find you?
Best place to find me is also on Twitter. I'm at Ben Bumhofer. You can find me there. I say things like, hey guys, the new episode of Boxford is out. That's a show I do with Aludra. Or you can see me say things like, hey, the new episode of DN Discussions is out. That's a show I do with TBK, also known as Ryan. Or you can say, hey, the new episode of +5 to Hit is out. That's a D&D podcast that I'm on with Ro, where we play Dungeons and Dragons together. I hear that thing is a popular thing.
I've heard that people do that on the internet. How many mind flayers have you encountered?
None yet. However, we did fight Linda.
Look, it's not a competition between campaigns because we all get along. We're all. What level are you guys at right now? 4. Okay, so yes, we got some levels on you. We play a little more frequently, so that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not a competition. You guys will get to mind flayers, I'm sure.
We'll see.
We'll get there.
So you know what? Could be a campaign where mind flayers don't show up.
I mean, granted, we had fought a beholder by the time we were level 4, but
well, you fought the beholder's eye stalks.
There was a beholder underneath those eye stalks.
Yeah. But so a D&D game that you won't hear is actually taking place tomorrow as well. That's where people are level 6, and they've been fighting some drow.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's
anyways,
Illithid adjacent.
Yeah. In fact, depending on decisions that are made in the next few, who knows if you guys are going to be coming up against a mind flayer.
I want to go to the Underdark and look for mind flayers.
Sounds like a jolly old time.
Jolly-o. Or Tally-ho, whatever, I don't know. But anyways, so that's enough about Dungeons and Dragons, which is also a fun game. This show, however, about World of Warcraft, which is also a fun game, you can find us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. Also, if you have any questions, comments, want to tell me why I'm playing wrong or how to play right, you can always email AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com, and I'll ignore your email. Other than
Ben's,
No, I'll read 'em.
Ben has
I will.
clearly been getting my emails. Let me tell you why. You healer. You want to know the best kind of healing? Kill it quicker. Rafflecopter play road.
That's actually how I play my mage. Is I kill it before he gets to me.
Yeah,
But
that's
anyways,
it. That's it. That's the best defense and offense.
yeah, exactly. What banner, right?
Who
If
needs
you
a
have
tank if
any-
it's dead, Ben?
That's true. On top of that, if you want, or if you like this episode and want to hear all of our others, you can find us on AzerothRoundtable.com, as well as on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, all those places where you can find podcasts. And of course, check us out live Friday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, during whatever. Are we on daylight savings or daylight standard? I never know.
I don't know.
But
Arizona
we change
time.
around the winter time. Yeah, we go by Arizona time. 8 p.m. Arizona time.
It's 9:14 right now here, and in several months it will be 9:14 when we record at this exact time again.
Yeah, exactly. But check us out on twitch.tv/AzerothRT. And if you like us enough and you have Amazon Prime, toss us a subscribe. It's free.
Sure. Why not? Oh. We really got to work on this transaction.
But John, that's not all that they can do to support us, is it?
No, Ben. The best way to support us, Azeroth Roundtable, is to go to patreon.com/AzerothRT. The RT stands for Roundtable. There you can pledge support. It's not a cult. It's a form of patronage. It was popular back in the day. We're bringing it back. And we had a couple people do it, and, they go above and beyond. We call them the Murloc Club. We give them a shout out. That's Aaron, Birschkaber, Brandon O, Haster, Jesse O, Caleb M, Megan Pie, Sash, Shane X, and Taryn. Thank you so much for being part of the Murloc Club. We appreciate you.
That's right. And as a special call out, thank you, new patrons, Jennifer D and also Shane X. Even though I know you just called them out on the Murloc Club, but that's how special they are.
Mm-hmm. That's a double.
So with
that's
that,
a double call out, shout out.
Yes, it is. And with that, so I'm going to go to Mechagon and wrap up.
That's a
John, I hope
euphemism.
you. Yeah, it's not.
When do
but
I
maybe.
get to Mechagon? How much more do I have to do before they send me to the better place?
It's like what, maybe 4 quests in, and then you get the hey, go talk to Rusty Nuts the Goblin in the docks, and then you'll go.
Okay.
I don't remember who it is exactly, but yeah, it's only a few quests in. It's not too bad.
It's Gazlo, Ben.
Yeah, Rusty Nuts.
Gazlo? You couldn't remember Gazlo? He's great.
Yeah, I was trying to be funny.
Gazlo's the one leading the Mechagon expedition for the Horde.
Gazlo is fantastic.
Except he doesn't have his giant robot like mech thing, which makes me a little sad.
Is it the same voice as Gazlo in Heroes?
Sure.
I believe it is.
Which is to say, voiced by Travis Willingham?
Holy
I
crap,
believe
that's
it
him?
is.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize
it
that.
is actually. It's one of the weirder, like, oh my gosh, that's who does the voice. But yeah, Gazlo's
Yeah,
great.
makes sense.
He is missing his
Oh,
giant
man.
robot backpack. I agree. It's a problem. He has it when you fight him in island expeditions, which is cool.
Oh, well, that's
You know, because so many games these days take inspiration from that old WoW Classic game, or not WoW Classic, Blizzard Classic game, Heroes of the Storm. It was this really ancient game. It's in their classic library now, but it really informed all of their other video games. Like every single one has been touched by it in some way.
Well, every single current one.
Yeah, it's really the cornerstone of the Blizzard universe, but I mean, it's old, so you probably haven't heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. Dead game.
Can never forget the classic.
Yeah.
But with that, Ro, again, thank you for joining us. Chat room, you guys have been awesome. Everybody, have fun running around or flying if you have that yet. And until next time, be good to each other.
The sky is my ground.
That make... Well, that's where the show's going to end.
Figured we needed something
The sky
good
is my ground.
right at the end. There you go.
Good job. That was